I want to talk about overtime laws. Overtime laws, I understand wanting to pay people more for more hours worked. And of course, a person needs more money working more hours, especially if they're working long hours when they're tired and they've already worked a bunch of hours that week. But on the other hand, overtime laws really just incentivize and subsidize people to take more hours than they can handle in order to make more money exponentially, the 50% plus law. And here's the thing. First, it's more than 40 hours a week gets this 50% bonus. Is that a good standard? Do we really want to condemn ourselves to a 40-hour work week? I'll get to that. But here's the question. Of course, a person deserves more money the more hours they work, and the more hours in a week, I suppose. But if you've already worked 40 hours this week, you're probably really fucking tired. Are you at your most productive right now? Why should you get paid more when you're at your least productive, like when you're tired and when you might fall asleep? You're not at your most productive, you're at your most exhausted, and that's used as an excuse to get you to earn more money. The fact that you're tired, like that's not an achievement. You being tired is not an achievement. It just means you've worked a lot. So maybe it's an achievement that you worked a lot, and that's a recognition of that. But we don't want to be incentivizing people to work more than they can handle it because they could fall asleep on the job and potentially die. And we're just subsidizing people to get tired at work and potentially fall asleep on the job. And you might not be worried about that, but what about truckers? So I work 46 hours a week, and I'm comfortable with it because I don't have a lot of responsibilities on the job as a security guard. I spend a lot of that time just making TikTok videos and writing. But temporary workers and overtime workers need to understand what's going on here. There's a standard 40-hour work week, and the government is like, there's good things about that, and there's bad. I can't even honestly think of a good thing about that it's not 50. Well, guess what? FDR considered bringing it down to 30, and a bunch of corporate assholes talked him out of it. So I'm not appreciative of that 40-hour work week. You know why? Because the average American works 34.5 hours a week. But the government and everyone is letting us believe that if we don't work 40, which if everyone worked would leave lots of people unemployed, even more than there are now, that we don't deserve full rights at the workplace. And we need lots of rights at the workplace. Workplace democracy, unions that can't get co-opted by the government. We need to figure out how to make that happen. Part-time workers who need help, like getting lifts and ordering food and stuff that we can afford it, we should be willing to tip people who are working working on a temporary basis or working a lot less hours than we are, because we're the reason that they're perpetually unemployed or underemployed and having to scrounge for hours. It's because we take overtime that there's a shortage of hours, because the average nationally is 34.5 and nobody's talking about it. Now, just to be clear, when I say people who are working overtime, it's our fault that other people are underemployed or can't get enough hours because we take overtime. I'm not saying that everyone who takes overtime agrees to take overtime, only to the extent that they stay in their current jobs. Some people are overscheduled by their boss. Some people are overscheduled because they want to be. Just wanted to clear that up. Full-time jobs and people without full-time jobs need to work harder to understand each other's needs and wants, and the differences between your needs and your wants, and just work together, because we're all at risk of going into poverty. And temporary workers, people who are unemployed, underemployed, even homeless, you can be friends with people with full-time jobs. You just have to understand that they don't like you to spend all of your time talking. They don't have time to listen to you talk all day, especially very slowly. People at full-time and people who are on overtime, it's like we're on a higher speed than the people who are working slow. It's like you decided to take your life slow and chill. That's cool. Just because you don't care about getting to places on time doesn't mean that I shouldn't. I have a set work schedule that's been the same way for 5 years. So maybe it's my fault for not letting people I know who come into my life, look, we can be friends, but our friendship cannot and must not interfere with my ability to get to work. Not asking you for help doing my job, just trying to get to work. Oh, and also please don't cheat on me, because I have to go to work in order to bring money home to buy food for you and shelter. So please don't cheat on me. just because I have to be away from you. It's like, you ever find yourself in the position of having to explain to an adult, maybe even they're a parent, like they have a child, they're in charge of raising a child, and you have to explain to them how time works. It's like, look, some people work 9 to 5. I work overnight. I need to know where you are at a certain time of day. You can't leave your friends to have to consider crazy fucking options. I to fix predicaments that you've put them in. Some people have lives and plans and schedules, and some people cannot handle just doing things on the fly because you feel like it. You have to remember what things you've agreed to in your relationship with your friends, or else they're going to really be thrown off and they're going to be really upset when you disappoint or betray or inconvenience them or forget that you were supposed to do a thing that helps them carry on their lives in a stable way. Like, don't drive your friends to homelessness. Don't, like, if you care about someone and you promise to like help them get to work, for example, don't hang them out to dry because they could lose their job and then they don't have any money and they lose their apartment and then they can't help you, they can't loan you money, they can't, you might not ever see them again. Help me help you. That's the key to a friendship. Mutually beneficial voluntary agreements and help me help you. There has to be a goal that people are working towards. You have to cooperate towards a common goal as a friend, as friends, or else what are you doing? Don't sacrifice your own needs just to make someone else happy. You can sacrifice your wants sometimes, that's less harmful, but if you're doing something with your friends, make sure it's something that you both like. If one of you doesn't like it, then that person, you can leave. They can do it by themselves. Why would they want to listen to you complain about it the whole time? It would stop them from enjoying it. So, mutually beneficial voluntary agreements. Help me help you. I can't help you. Like, your friends, sometimes you share foods with them, share weed or whatever. Like, if I can't get to work, like if you promise me to get like help me get to work and I can't show up for you, if you don't show up for me, then I can't show up for you. And frankly, our fucking jobs all need to pay us a lot more. And like I said, tip your Uber drivers and your delivery drivers and delivery people and wait staff generously, or else they're not going to be able to afford to come into work the next day. And when you ask your boss for a raise, make sure to point out, I can't work for you if I can't get to work. And I can't get to work if I can't afford to get to work. And the average American is living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford a $500 emergency, much less, for example, like a busted tire. I can't get to work if I get a busted tire and can't quickly repair it with the money that I should be able to save if I were paid enough. So we all need to ask our bosses for more money, highlighting the fact that we can't get to work if we can't pay for rides in case our rides doesn't show up, or Uber is late, or our car is busted down, or we crashed our car, or whatever happened. We all got to help each other. We can't be like that hearse driver in Manhattan who threw the body out of the casket because the people who paid him to transport it just they decided not to pay him. You don't desecrate human bodies because people decided not to pay you. Like, have some fucking decency. I mean, that should be the bare minimum. That should be the lowest common denominator. But for fuck's sake, doing nothing to force people to come to harm, that's great as a base level, but you do actively have to help people and try to accommodate people. That's what it takes to be considerate. It's one thing to do most of whatever people ask you to, I guess, because you kind of like them or kind of want to help them, but really don't give a shit or whatever. But it takes a little more to be considerate. Some people, it might take them years to learn how to become considerate. But we got to listen more closely to what each other needs. We got to work really hard to accommodate each other if we're going to survive this depression. Don't disappear on your friends, or else tell them that you don't want to be their friends anymore.